right now on 5 on your side at 10.
Tonight, a year ago, water wrecked their lives.
1 year later, we are still working on it and try to get back.
After historic flooding pummeled parts of our area, how one town is creating a flood task force to make sure history does not repeat itself. Plus, tonight, millions of people will soon have to start repaying student loans. Why some experts say it's a good thing.
Just above 100 for the peak heat index Wednesday. Now we'll climb above that before lunchtime Thursday, when subtle relief from the heat brings another rain chance to the bi-state.
First, we start with breaking news out of the Metro East. Right now, firefighters battling a large fire at a factory in Madison, Illinois. Several departments have responded to the old Spectralite facility. A viewer sent us video of the large cloud of smoke seen from downtown. Now, the St. Clair County EMA director tells 5 on your side magnesium may be inside the building, and that could be explosive. We continue to work to get more information from the Madison County's fire department, and we will let you know as soon as we do. We are in a weather alert tonight as the St. Louis area remains under a heat advisory. Some parts of the area got brief relief from the heat with some showers earlier today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mike Bush.
And I'm Ann Allred. That rain didn't last long, and temperatures are expected to jump back up into the triple digits tomorrow. Let's get to Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell with the weather first forecast.
It felt like it today, certainly, with our peak heat index around 102 in St. Louis. We were thinking it would be our first 100-degree day, but Mother Nature brought the showers instead, so 95 ends up being our top temperature today. It's still close to 90 degrees in the metro area right now. Skies are partly cloudy across the area. It's an otherwise fairly quiet night, but yes, still rather toasty. Our temperatures not dropping quickly, nor will they through the overnight hours. We're at 89 degrees right now in St. Louis, but that heat index still has it feeling like it's in the 90s. That's part of the problem. We don't get a chance to cool off at night. So another warm night ahead, and there's a few more. In fact, today, if we don't drop below 84 degrees, we will tie the record low temperature for the date. Tomorrow afternoon, heat index values maybe as high as 110 or a little bit above, and some relief is possible by Sunday. Just want to take a couple of seconds here just to review the heat exhaustion versus heat stroke, because heat stroke is a medical emergency, and when you're suffering from the heat, it kind of builds up on you, and we know it takes its toll as you go through the course of the week. So faint, dizzy, excessive sweating, rapid, weak pulse, that's all indications of heat exhaustion. But if you have a throbbing headache or you're not sweating, rapid, strong pulse, you may even pass out, that can be heat stroke, and that's when you need to dial 911 and get emergency help. So know those differences, but try to avoid it from the first place by limiting your time outside, as well as making sure you're drinking plenty of water, Mike.
And with the extreme heat making its way across our area, Scott, Ameren is encouraging customers to stay safe with these weather tips. Ameren says keep your air vents clear by checking and replacing air filters, and to make sure no curtains or furniture blocks that airflow. Another tip is to close your window shades. Also consider using alternative cooking methods such as air fryers or slow cookers to help reduce excess heat in your kitchen.
These temperatures are also unsafe for your pets. The Humane Society says if it's 70 and over, don't take Rover. This means never leave your pet unattended in a parked car if the temperature is above 70 degrees. Also, make sure your pets always have access to shade and fresh, clean water. You can apply cool water to your pet's extremities if they show signs of heat exhaustion. For more information on how to stay safe over the next few days, including a list of local cooling centers, text the word HEAT to 314-425-5355.
Today marks 1 year since historic rainfall flooded areas throughout the bi-state. Here's some video from the Central West End where you can see the McDonald's on Lindell was flooded on the street and in the parking lot. Other locations like U-City got hit the hardest. 1 year later, there's still a lot of work to be done.
And just a few hours ago, the University City Task Force met at University City High School to discuss how to prevent future flooding. That's where 5 on your side's Robert Townsend joins us live with what leaders discussed tonight. Robert.
And more than 100 people turned out for tonight's meeting. Many of those flood victims told officials 1 year later, their lives are not back to normal. It was historic flash flooding University City mom Nanoy Bundavong will never forget.
I mean, thinking about it, I'm still scared.
On July 26, 2022, torrential rainfall pounded the St. Louis area. Bundavong says rising water turned her Cabiny Street into an instant lake, covered her front yard, and flooded her basement. Firefighters had to rescue her 11-year-old son from his flooded bedroom.
I just really worry, so I try to rescue him by myself. 1 year later, we are still working on it and trying to get back.
They aren't the only flood victims still trying to get their lives back on track after the devastating floods. How's life 1 year later?
It's still horrible.
The Mortons lost 4 cars during the relentless flash flooding.
But we have 1 car, and we're working on 1 car with 4 people transporting.
I think the city could have done more.
That's the message many homeowners took to this meeting with the Flood Task Force of University Heights Association.
This is outrageous. We have 7.5 feet of water in the basement.
Don Fitz, the association's chairman, told city, state, federal officials and the St. Louis Metropolitan Sewer District the nearby River des Peres tunnel system must be cleaned to prevent future catastrophic flooding.
There's still a lot of debris in the River des Peres in the tunnel, which is very close to my house, which we believe stopped up the tunnel and was a major factor in causing the flood.
Now, several homes on Cabiny Street are still condemned as a result of that flash flooding. Today, we also learned several families have now moved out of that neighborhood. Live in U City, Robert Townsend, 5 on your side.
New tonight, the city of St. Louis held its latest Reparations Commission meeting. The group is tasked with getting community feedback on the effects of slavery, segregation, and other race-based harms to St. Louis residents. 5 on your side's Laura Barczewski was at tonight's meeting. Laura?
Mike, the chair of the Reparations Commission, says they're now starting to narrow down the areas where they want to focus on, including disparities in housing, the economy, and tonight they talked about public health.
Reparations Commission Chair Kayla Reed says these listening and learning sessions are so important to understanding how Black families have been affected for decades simply because of the color of their skin.
From housing loss to neighborhood displacement to just economic instability due to job loss and lack of opportunities, and recommendations about how resources should be used to restore some of those harms.
Some of those harms are even more visible when it comes to public health.
44% of our African American kids in St. Louis live in poverty. 44%. So what is the life expectancy then for those kids?
Data shows historically Black neighborhoods in St. Louis have a lower average life expectancy.
If you look at zip codes, North St. Louis, 63106, the average life expectancy is 6 to 7 years. If you move just 6 miles west to Clayton, zip code 63105, the life expectancy is 18 years higher.
James Gallagher says his family from Mill Creek Valley is proof of that. He claims toxic chemicals sprayed to get rid of mosquitoes caused severe health problems, killing his family members at early ages.
And we had a lot of the kids were running up behind the trucks. They would come twice a week up in the neighborhood, but it was specifically in the Mill Creek Valley. It stopped at Grand. They wouldn't go to the 3,500.
Now he wants to see some kind of compensation for those, including himself, who've been hurt by chemicals and other health issues based on where they lived.
I'm the last member of my family. I'm the patriarch of my family on both sides. It's just nothing can make up because the damage done.
There will be another Reparations Commission meeting at the end of next month. Details on that are still pending, but if you'd like to watch all the meetings so far, we'll have a link on KSTK.com.
Developing tonight, police need your help to identify and locate a man wanted for sexually assaulting a child in South St. Louis. Take a look at the images police released today. Investigators believe this man grabbed a 6-year-old boy who was riding his bike, took him to a vacant home on Lawrence Street near Francis Park, where he sexually assaulted that child. Police are asking anyone with information, call Crime Stoppers. You can remain anonymous if you'd like. That number is 866-371-TIPS. Tonight, we now know the name of the person shot and killed in a double shooting in the Metro East. The Major K squad was called to a home on Edwardsville Road in Madison yesterday afternoon. 19-year-old Jalen Woods was found shot in the backyard and died at the scene. Another man was taken to the hospital. Investigators are still looking for the person responsible.
More crime-fighting technology is coming to the Metro East. Illinois State Police is installing 75 license plate reader cameras along interstates by the end of the year. 45 are already in operation. ISP says the cameras have greatly reduced crime on highways in the Chicago area, and they're hoping for similar results here.
Jumping onto an interstate is no longer an escape route for criminals. ISP is using license plate readers to track vehicles suspected of being involved in criminal acts. And this technology is helping us catch criminals and solve crime, adding to the resources we've already committed to this area.
ISP says the cameras will also help police during Amber Alerts to quickly track the movements of vehicles connected to kidnapping cases.
If you bought alcohol at Schnucks within the last 7 years, you could get some money back. The supermarket chain reached a $4 million settlement in a class action lawsuit. It stems from allegations that the store used misleading and false claims about its alcohol prices in ads. The payments range from $11 to $72, and to file a claim, look for this story in the As Seen on TV section at KSDK.com.
Some good news tonight from the family of Janae Edmondson. Today, the Tennessee teenager got her first set of prosthetics. She even took a few steps. Janae, you'll remember, lost both of her legs after a crash in downtown St. Louis back in February. Her mom says Janae beat all of their expectations and was driven to walk again. A GoFundMe page has raised more than $830,000 for her recovery, and you can donate by texting the word support to 314-425-5355.
Hitting play on the pandemic pause is making it harder for student loan borrowers to make ends meet. Tonight, we're breaking down your payment options. Countdown to Paris. We're 1 year away from the Summer Olympic Games. The local athletes vying for a spot on Team USA.
Showers in the 70s for the day ahead in Paris, France. Meanwhile, both Paris, Missouri and Paris, Illinois will be dealing with triple-digit heat. The break that may come over the weekend.
Since you've been gone, I can do whatever I want.
Tonight, the world is mourning the loss of Irish singer Sinead O'Connor. Her rendition of Prince's Nothing Compares to You climbed to the Billboard's #1 hit single in 1990. She garnered controversy during her appearance on Saturday Night Live in 1992 when she ripped up a photo of Pope John Paul II live on air. She told Carson Daly in 2021 it was her way of protesting the cover-up of sexual abuse cases.
10 years after the Pope ripping episode, you all then found out in America that this was going on.
A cause of death was not released. O'Connor was 56.
Surprise developments today in a Delaware courtroom. Hunter Biden pleaded not guilty to 2 misdemeanors charges of failing to pay his taxes. This after his plea deal fell apart at the last moment. Republicans argue he was getting special treatment for being the president's son.
It's very telling that the judge intervened here and said basically, no, I'm not going to approve some sweeping blanket deal. I mean, that tells you that the court has serious concerns about other potential charges here and also the scope of the deal, which has seemed outrageous from the beginning.
This case was handled independently, as all of you know, by the Justice Department under the leadership of a prosecutor appointed by the former president, President Trump.
Prosecutors pointed out the deal wouldn't have protected him from any potential future charges. It's possible a plea deal could still go through.
The Federal Reserve has hiked interest rates again. It's now at its highest level in 22 years. Interest rates jumped 0.25% today to 5.5%. The move is part of the Fed's efforts to fight persistent inflation and stabilize the economy.
Everything we do is in service to our public mission. We at the Fed will do everything we can to achieve our maximum employment and price stability goals.
This means the cost of mortgages, auto loans, and credit cards will go up.
Tonight, a major shift is on the horizon for federal student loan borrowers and the U.S. economy. This fall, millions of borrowers will make their first payments since March 2020 when a pandemic pause took effect. Michelle Lee looks for options for borrowers in tonight's Making Ends Meet.
A lot of borrowers were waiting for the U.S. Supreme Court to make a decision on the Biden administration's plan that would have forgiven up to $20,000 in debt for some people. Now, with that plan struck down by the court 2 weeks ago, a big change is on deck this fall. After a 3-year pandemic pause, federal student loan interest will begin to accrue again in September, and payments will resume in October. A recent study by Moody's Analytics found as many as 5 million student loan borrowers will need to resume average payments of close to $275 a month, and warned of an economic slowdown as borrowers shift budget priorities. Other economists, like John Diamond of Rice University's Baker Institute Center for Public Finance, say the dialing back of consumer spending will help further ease inflation.
I think at the end of the day, whatever positive effect we would have seen from increased consumption would have been offset by the Fed raising rates a little more than they would have to.
During the shift, Diana Fergat-Roth, former chief economist at the Labor Department during the George W. Bush administration, says borrowers have a strong job market on their side.
It's a great time to be looking for a job. Yes, they have to repay their student loans, but on the other hand, there are all these jobs available, both in the public and in the private sector.
The Biden administration has rolled out new options for borrowers ahead of fall repayments. Some will be eligible for a new income-driven repayment plan that could lower monthly bills and reduce the overall amount paid back over the lifetime of a loan. For those meeting certain income thresholds, monthly payments could be as low as $0. Some parts of the program take effect this summer, others in July 2024. Federal student loan borrowers can log in to the studentaid.gov site to see if they are already enrolled in a repayment plan, if they need to make changes to that plan, or if they need to apply. Back to you.
Well, the countdown is on. We are officially 1 year away from the Summer Olympics in Paris. Nearly 11,000 athletes will take part in the games. This will be the first games really since the end of the pandemic, meaning fans can travel and attend events. NBC Olympics host Mike Tirico points to a few potential members of Team USA to keep an eye out for in Paris.
On the track, Noah Lyles, Sydney McLaughlin-Lavroni, among others. So many of the players from the women's basketball team that's going for yet another gold medal. There will be a lot of names who we saw just a short time ago in Olympic terms in Tokyo 2 years ago who are still in position next year when the Olympics get started to once again find themselves on the podium for Team USA.
Several local athletes could vie for a spot on Team USA. This includes basketball players Nafisa Collier, Bradley Beal, Jason Tatum, divers Tyler Downs, Margot O'Meara. You can read more about them at KSDK.com/Olympics.
We are in a weather alert right now as the area remains under a heat advisory. Let's get back to Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell.
You know, we're going to be stuck with this hot weather. You know, it's the end of July going into August in St. Louis. This is traditionally the hottest part of the year for us anyway, and certainly we're living up to those expectations and exceeding them. Tonight, we have a couple of little spot showers out there. Lambert earlier had a shower, thunderstorm, reported a couple of times today, only ended up with 1/100 of an inch of rain. So just having a hard time getting much of this to amount to much. So still pretty dry for most of us. This is sliding right along by Bethalto right now here in Madison County. Not much to it, and that's about it. There's just a couple of little spritzes out there. Brief downpour that lasts maybe 4 or 6 minutes, and you're not going to get much out of that. Still, though, in the upper 80s around the St. Louis area at this point. And when you look across the bi-state region and across the Midwest, we still find those heat index values above 100 out in Kansas City, still at 100 around Lincoln. It still feels like it's 96 in St. Louis. So we're going to continue to see this heat just linger through the overnight hours. And then as soon as the sun pops out tomorrow, and tomorrow should be a very bright day, temperatures are going to soar. 89 degrees right now, southwest breeze at 10 miles per hour. That dew point is 72, no lack of moisture. 95 the high for today, held back because of our rain that happened midday, even though it didn't amount to much. And 84 was a low temperature. So if we don't go below 84, and it'd be hard to do that before this day wraps up, that will tie the record warmest low temperature for the date set back in 1936 of 84 degrees. Overnight, though, and by early tomorrow morning, we'll start in the 70s to around 80 degrees. But look at this. Your heat index by noon's already back to 104 in St. Louis, 110, 111 tomorrow afternoon. It is going to be a rough afternoon with those heat index values. And as we've been saying all along, the heat being cumulative, it's not just tomorrow. You have those numbers tomorrow. Friday's numbers are still quite high. Saturday, they start to back off a little bit, but we're still dealing with the heat. So really important that you at least spend some time in air conditioning, if at all possible. Stay out of the sun, stay hydrated, check on our seniors, make sure they're doing okay. Just don't overexert yourself in this heat. We do have the heat advisory for the entire area that's going through Friday. CoolDownSt.Louis.org. Easy place for you to make an online donation because they are helping our seniors stay safely cool with those electric bills and air conditioners. We're settling down for most of us overnight tonight into tomorrow. Next opportunity for any rain really is happening later Saturday into Saturday evening. Perhaps a few scattered storms still in the upper 90s, but that will be our signal to break a little bit as we head into Sunday and Monday back into the low and mid 90s for highs. So we'll extend the weather alert through Saturday since we're pretty confident our heat index will still be in the triple digits, but then we'll back off a little bit, at least a little bit. Not much, but a little bit. And then by Tuesday and Wednesday, we're back close to 100. As we get a little deeper into August, we should cool those temperatures back a little bit.
All right, Scott, thanks. Holden Kerwicki is in for Frank, and here's what's next in sports.
Well, he represented St. Louis on the biggest stages of boxing. Now three-time world champion Devin Alexander is fighting a different kind of opponent right back here at home. I'll have more on the Greats mission on the other side of the break.
The Sports Desk is sponsored by Jim Butler Chevrolet, the Midwest's #1 Chevy dealer 10 years running.
The Cardinals went into Arizona today looking for a series win, and the storyline really centered around Jack Flaherty and what could be his last start in a Cardinal uniform. But it was the offense that stole the show. It was a big day for Arizona native Nolan Gorman. He got the scoring underway with a deep drive that we can't even call a splash landing because it went over the pool. In fact, the Cardinals actually hit 5 home runs on the day. Now, Flaherty would pitch into the 6th inning, but would not factor into the decision after this homer by Emmanuel Rivera tied the game at 3. But the Cardinals bats would get the win in this one. Gorman would tee off on his 2nd homer of the day. That's his 22nd of the season, and he got all of that one. The Cards would go on to win this one by a final of 11-7. After the game, Flaherty admitted he was a bit distracted by the trade deadline noise.
I mean, I won't lie, like maybe a little bit there in the 6th, I was a little bit distracted of, you know, just everything of being like, oh, you know, it was, you know, I knew where the pitch count was at, I didn't know what was going to happen, but, you know, it may have been a little bit distracted there in the 6th, probably the first time I've ever been distracted over something like that wasn't baseball.
This 5 on your side St. Louis City SC coverage is sponsored by Together Credit Union.
St. Louis City is back in town making their preparations as they get ready to welcome in Club America for the final round of the League's Cup group stages. City dug themselves in a bit of a hole with Sunday's 2-1 loss against Columbus, so they need to win by at least 2 against a Club America squad that has won 13 League MX titles. Head coach Bradley Carnell says his team won't be caught wide-eyed against one of the top teams in North America.
One thing we won't do is just to be here to participate and to pick up jerseys after the game. We definitely want to make sure that we compete and do our job and show up like we have so many times here at City Park.
Earlier today, I caught up with 3-time world champion boxer Devin Alexander. The 36-year-old last fought in April. Now he's back home in St. Louis preparing for the Urban Expo Rumble in St. Louis, August 5th at America Center. Though the welterweight isn't fighting in that match, he is hosting it. Alexander is also working to open a boxing gym here in St. Louis, and the former champ told me he's looking forward to mentoring kids that grew up just like him.
I know that they don't see success stories a lot. I know for a fact they don't. And a lot of times kids don't think they can make it out the situation that they're in because they don't see too many people getting out. So I like to be that example. Yes, you can.
And it's a good week to be a pro athlete. Yesterday we told you Jaylen Brown became the highest paid player in NBA history. Today it's Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert becoming the highest paid player in NFL history after he inked a 5-year, $262.5 million deal. Herbert is the only quarterback in NFL history with over 4,000 yards of passing in each of his first 3 seasons, but he has yet to win a playoff game. Now he's got 262 million reasons why he has to win just
It's
one.
like winning Powerball.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You
Somebody's
won't see
got to
us
do
here.
it.
Yeah. Thanks, Holden.
Apple makes phones, watches, computers, and shoes. The price tag for these vintage sneakers.
Comedian Dave Chappelle is going on tour, but you'll have to drive to Kansas City to see his live stand-up show. He'll perform at the T-Mobile Center on September 17th. Tickets go on sale tomorrow morning at 10.
An ultra-rare pair of Apple sneakers is going up for auction. Apple gave employees pairs of these custom white trainers at a national sales conference in the mid-90s. The size 10.5 shows some signs of wear and tear, and guess what the starting bid is? $50,000.
Yikes. There you have it. 5 on your side at 10. The Tonight Show is next.
Have a great night.